Hello students. So this is the fifth video of this topic of class 12 biology important topics, and this video, as I told in my earlier videos, that it is not only for one particular board but it is important for all the boards. And today in this video mainly I am going to discuss about the important topics of last unit or the fifth unit of class 12 biology, and that unit is ecology. So let's begin. What are the main topics are there in the ecology unit? Mainly there are four chapters are present in this unit. So today we are mainly focusing on unit number 5, or the last unit of class 12 biology. This is ecology, and in this unit the chapters are organisms and populations, ecosystems, biodiversity and conservation, and environmental issues. So what are the main topics we need to cover in these four chapters of this unit? So first, organisms and populations. Now in this organisms and population chapter, we need to read about the definition of ecology, habitat, microhabitat and niche. Then explanation about the Gauss's principle and competitive exclusion. Then we need to read the differences in between habitat and niche, then population and biotic community, difference between ecosystem and biome, and differentiate between biome and biosphere. Then we need to read some major biomes: tundra, temperate coniferous, broad-leaved deciduous forest, tropical rainforest, and deciduous forest, grassland, desert biome of the world that mainly determined by temperature and precipitation. Then in the next question of this chapter, we need to read the name and explain about the abiotic factors of the environment. Abiotic factors, that means non-living factor like temperature, light, water, soil, and responses of organism to abiotic factors, mainly to regulate, conform, migrate, and suspend. Then in next question, what is adaptation? With citing examples, list some ecological adaptation in plants and animals. Then give the definition of population. In eighth question, I have written list and explain about the attributes of population, mainly the natality, mortality, sex ratio, age distribution, and age pyramids. Then population size or population density, population growth, and in this population growth, mainly we need to read two growth pattern. One is exponential or J-shaped growth pattern, and another is S-shaped or logistic growth pattern. Then in ninth question I have written give the name of some negative like predation, parasitism, competition, amensalism, and some positive like commensalism, mutualism, and or symbiosis, population interaction, with citing suitable examples. And in last question of this chapter I have written what is keystone species and give few examples. Now come to the next chapter. The name of the chapter is ecosystem. This is the second chapter of this unit, ecology. Here, the question I have written definition of ecosystem, then name and explain the abiotic and biotic components of an ecosystem, explain trophic levels in an ecosystem, then explain pond ecosystem, write some structural features of an ecosystem like species composition, stratification, trophic structure, standing crop, standing state, sorry. Then sixth question I have written describe the four most important functional aspect of ecosystem like productivity. And in the productivity section, we need to read primary, secondary, gross primary, and net primary productivity, and the factors that affecting primary productivity. Then in second question I have written second part of question number 6 I have written decomposition. You need to read here the definition of decomposition, the process, the factors that mainly affecting the decomposition process. Then in third question of this question number 6 I have written energy flow. Okay, here we need to read the unidirectional flow of energy in ecosystem, law of 10% energy transfer in ecosystem, then Y-shaped model of energy flow showing linkage between the grazing and detritus food chain. Then in fourth part of question number 6 I have written nutrient cycling or biogeochemical cycling, and in this cycle we have to read mainly carbon cycle and phosphorus cycle. Other questions also we need to cover that what is food chain, name and explain different types of food chains like grazing or predator, detritus, and parasitic food chain. Then in eighth question, what is food web? list two characteristics of food web, write the importance of food web, or concept of food web seems ecologically more realistic than a simple food chain, and justify this comment. What is ecological pyramid? Explain different types of ecological pyramids like pyramid of numbers, pyramid of biomass, pyramid of energy. An ecological pyramid can be upright, inverted, or spindle shaped. That one also we need to cover. Then in question number 10, I have written what is ecological or biotic succession. Name and explain the different kinds of succession like primary and secondary, autogenic and allogenic succession. And in question number 11, I have written explanation about the different dominance of species or ecological dominance like keystone species, invasive species, and species richness. So these are the main important topics of this chapter. In the third chapter of this unit, the third chapter is biodiversity and conservation. This is the third chapter of this unit, and here we need to read in this chapter mainly about the definition of biological diversity or biodiversity, then explanation in the different levels of biodiversity like genetic diversity, species diversity, ecological diversity, and in the ecological diversity we also need to read about its subsections like alpha, beta, and gamma diversity. Then we also read also about the ecosystem diversity. Then in question number 3, I have written name and explain the patterns of biodiversity. Okay, that is latitudinal and altitudinal gradients. Then question number 4, I have written list the causes and results of biodiversity depletion. And in fifth question, I have written what is conservation. Then we need to read also about a brief explanation of two basic strategies of biodiversity conservation. One is in situ conservation and another is ex situ conservation. And in in-situ conservation, you need to cover about the protected areas like national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, biosphere reserves, and in ex-situ conservation, you need to cover sacred plants, home gardens, off-site collections like botanical gardens, zoological parks, gene banks, tissue culture, and cryopreservation. Then we need to read the definition of hotspot and its examples, mainly the hotspots of India. Then the explanation about the Ramsar Convention on wetlands and Ramsar sites in India. Red data book, red list categories, mainly the threat categories like extinct species, threatened species, critically endangered species, vulnerable species, rare or lower risk species. Then we need to read wildlife protection of India, wildlife projects of India, mainly for Project Tiger, Gir Lion Project, Crocodile Breeding Project, Rhinos Conservation Project, Project Elephant. And also we need to see the Wildlife Protection Act. And in this chapter there will be few expand we need to cover like WCU, IUCN, and CITES sites. Now come to the last chapter of this unit. This is environmental issues. And the questions there we need to read definition of pollution and pollutants, give the classification of pollutants on the basis of persistence and biodegradability. And in third question, I have written air pollution, primary and secondary air pollutants. Mainly, these are indicating the sources of air pollution, their effects, and control method. In fourth question, I have written water pollution, its sources, effects, mainly biomagnification, unitribution part is very important here. Then wastewater treatment, mainly by primary and secondary treatment of municipal wastewater or sewage. And also we need to read about the control method of water pollution. Then question number 5 I have written explain types of solid waste, biodegradable, non-biodegradable, and recyclable waste. Then next e-waste, next explanation organic farming, next radioactive pollution. Here we need to read about the types, sources, effects, and control. In question number 6 I have written noise pollution. Here about the noise pollution you need to read the sources, effects, and control. Then in seventh question I have written environmental laws for controlling pollution, the Environmental Protection Act 1986 and Biomedical Waste Management and Handling Rules 1998. Then in last question, question number 8, few explanation you need to read like greenhouse gases and greenhouse effect, that is also called as global warming, ozone layer depletion and ozone hole and its effects, then deforestation, the causes of deforestation and its harmful effects, and joint forest management and Van Mahotsav. Then next, forest management processes. Sixth, Forest Conservation Act 1980. And in the last part of this explanation, people's participation in environmental issues, some case studies like Chipko movement. So these are some important questions of this chapter, environmental issues. So for this unit, ecology unit, we need to read these four chapters, and the questions or the topics which you need to read, that one I have actually discussed through this video. Hope you like this video. So this is the fifth video of this topic of class 12 biology. If you like this video, please like, share and subscribe my channel. And thank you for watching this video.